Hello YouTube, Ronan Kazi. Have some heroic summit. Going to be taking on some rogues today. First battle is this person called me into the game. It's near the end of the whole run of the summit. We're going to come in and fight some rogues. I think rogues are pretty easy. It's all about applying pressure. It's almost any modern game. It's how much pressure you're applying to the enemy versus how much they're on you. They're going to push. If we do not apply enough pressure, they'll climb up the ladder and come right after us. But that's not always the worst thing to do. On this particular map, I like to come around here to the side and kind of get them on a flanking maneuver. But unfortunately, the group leader goes down. Now, because I have Bile Jammer equipped, I'm going to be able to put some pressure, and I'm going to wait to get one more on them. That's why the turret's always a good, and the Division 2, the turret's always a good choice, even if you're low skill power, because it applies pressure constantly. So how can we relate this to your life? Just horrible. You can't stay steady. You may get to a point where you feel like you're treading water, but let's say in the case if you're a parent for a younger child, you have to make them feel like everything is steady and okay. They're not capable of riding the roller coaster that really real life is. Part of your job, I think, now this is just my opinion, there's no studies that support this, just my opinion, that the more stable a situation you can give them for as long as possible, the better it is for them. I imagine there's a point where it's too much. It's like anything. Like I tell you, there's a bandwidth. There's probably a point where that's really, if it's a baby, the baby doesn't care if you're going through ups and downs. As long as when you're interacting with the baby, it's always the same. But other kids that can hear you talk, they can see. You can see when you're driving to work. All of that stuff. Driving them to work. You should be so lucky to drive your kids to work when they're 6 and 7. When you're going to work, you're driving them to school. Also, one thing I'm happy about, I think when I first got on here, I would talk about, what I'd say to players if we were in group chat together. And I'm glad I'm not in group chat, because a lot of stuff I might be just saying just to blow steam off. And that's a difference. There's more than just two types of people, obviously. It would be horrible for me to preach don't be binary, and then I only allow binary situations. So we went through those rogues, and this is the final floor 100. We start this battle. This is normally when I ask you to like, share, subscribe, hit the notifications. You could go see other people's kind of in the ring of people that kind of do things that I'm hooked up with, I think, is Ultimate Shield. He has a good channel, Ultimate Shield 340. Sloth Moods has a good channel. Funny stuff on there. But there's complementary kind of skills. I don't know what would happen. The difference between my spouse and I is I'm very... Okay, for a man, I speak a lot, but probably not for whatever the opposite of me is. Whatever it is, whatever my spouse is, they're a little bit more reserved. And their family's more reserved, so you can see that going on through their family. And my family were more expressive. Doesn't make it right or wrong. Right, there's a lot of times I wish that, people in my family would, TMI. Too much information, too much sharing. Too much arguing about non-consequential things. We were raised in a household where we were always supposed to have ideas and think about things, and it was great, but other people aren't prepared for that. And where you might think that you're just doing simple questions to draw out a person, whatever, for some people that's super invasive. So I think that because we're so different, it makes it better than if we were both the same. If we were both chatty Cathys, I would end up defaulting more to being less chatty Cathy, because I can get in my own moods and whatever where I don't really want to talk, where I'm trying to figure things out. For example, I do a lot of these videos, so you'd think I talk all the time. When I play Destiny 2 with Ultimate Shield and Sloth Moods, I'm a little more quiet because they're better players than me. And so I am concentrated to not make mistakes. Because I'm not as good a player, and these are all self-induced pressures. And we started us off about putting pressure on the enemy, and now we're going to talk about putting pressure on yourself. To some degree, putting yourself under stress is good. Being completely stress-free leads to mistakes. If you ever wonder why they drill on military, I'm just going to talk about the Coast Guard. We drilled, maybe not nonstop, but we drilled so much that you always were you never completely relaxed while you're on the boat, on the ship. All right, because you're always ready for a drill. You always thought about, okay, if we have man overboard drill, what's my job? If we have a fire, what's my job? If we have flooding in the ship, my job's to get the P250, which is a heavy fucking... Me and another guy got to grab the P250. It's the big... It's a not ship-powered pump. In case where your ship loses complete power, you still need pumps to dewater the ship. So, that's P250 back when I was in the Coast Guard. You had P140s also. And those were light. Anyways, having a certain amount of stress keeps you on your toes. So when I'm playing the game, it's not an unhealthy stress. I could let it cascade to a point where it was unhealthy, but I don't. At this point in my life, I try to manage that stress so it's enough that will help me do things to the point where I don't get overwhelmed with it, or I don't turn negative. Sloth is a lot higher armor-wise or power level-wise than I am. So in my head, I try to put more effort into it to kind of... I might not catch up to him. I'm playing all these different games, so I'm not focused on one game like that. And maybe I should. I just find when I'm playing Destiny, it's... I don't know if it's the art, if it's the colors... I don't know what it is. I'm going to have to explore that. Why I look at the videos and that differently. Maybe I'm more comfortable in the Division 2 than Destiny 2. In any case, putting pressure and stress on enemies. And Roxy, do you want to get squirted? Do you want the pressure of getting squirted on you? Everyone looks down and they walk away and they knock it off. But if I did it too much, it would lose its effect. If you are under constant stress and never get a relief, you start having physical problems, health problems. If you want to test this out, go out and when you're on your next mission, give away your position, and then watch the enemies in the division come at you. And you'll understand that you need some type of instrument. And I give you the following experiment. Go on there with a Hive Reviver and some other dumb skill. And if you're not putting enough pressure on them, they're just going to go right through. It doesn't matter that you have a Revive Hive. They're going to kill you, then they're going to kill you right again. That guy smokes me on the first. We got a pretty good group. And this is, I didn't invent this shock trap on this part, but that's pretty much the way to go. You can mud them sometimes, but I like the shock trap, and you keep refreshing it. Kind of the key is, if you look down in my icons, you'll see the one icon decaying. That's they've pulsed us so we can't put out our skills. It's going to drop off. My vial jammers, like every 12 seconds, I should be able to get 2 off before they come up again. Now I should cancel out my, and I throw another one out, shock traps. And that's what I'm doing in between those times. And they just knocked out all my skills. Now I can't do skills, but it doesn't destroy the shock traps. Stay throughout that. So that's kind of the trick there. So controlling the amount of stress you feel, not having, again, it's a bandwidth. So some of these concepts I go over with you. Defining, framing the problem, defining what success is, making a bandwidth, asking why. These are 4 things that can make your life a lot easier. You just have to incorporate them. And it's like a build for life. I'm not interested in showing you builds, multitude. I could make a build video every week of the year. But I only play one because only one is the best one. And that's just, it's the bottom line. I can pretty much do everything with this file jammer build. See, there I have it with the Banshee Pulse. So I want you to think about that. What's your build in life? I made a video about that. I kind of snuck this up onto you. I've given you a lot of tools. What are some of the tools that you use? Can you define what those tools are? Maybe you don't like to think about that, but there's builds for everything. And so what the build is an analogy for how you'd run your life. So that's what I'm asking you. How do you run your life? And you can keep it to yourself. Maybe you don't want to share it. I'm at the point in my life and what I'm doing. I feel confident in some of the things I'm doing. I don't mind sharing them with you. And I don't say you guys have to do what I'm saying. What goes into your base character, your base makeup is completely different. It's going to affect all the different things that are going to work for you. Some things are universal. Why is universal? Defining the frames of reference is universal. Working within a bandwidth of things, universal. Managing pressure, stress, universal. There's enough things, you're never going to lose your personality. You're unique, you're wonderful, how you are. You do some of these things real quick. When I was in the military, we had checklists for everything. That's how 18-year-olds can launch jets off carrier decks. The checklists aren't to constrain you, they free you. You don't have to put your mind on this routine task. You can put your mind thinking about other things like the safety and keeping your head on a swivel and your eyes looking around for problems. So, Ronan Kazi, thanks for watching.